Are you building your business from your zone of genius or from what everyone told you success should look like? You can see I'm currently building it from mine with my little girl's hand floating up. If you've followed all the formulas and you've hired all the coaches and you've built the offers and you've launched the programs and something still feels off, what if the problem isn't your work ethic, but the actual model that you're working in? Like, what if you're not supposed to work in the normal way that other people say that you should be working? Most often with high achievers, the problem is not your work ethic. The problem is your alignment. Yes, right? Yeah. You want to be on this podcast with me? Want to do this podcast together? We're going to do it together. Here's the thing, the fastest path to burnout is not doing too much. It's abandoning your genius in favor to look good on paper. And maybe that genius is doing business and babies at the same time. I am Kimberly Spencer. I am an international TEDx speaker. I am a master mindset coach and a high performance business strategist and the founder of Crown Yourself and mom of three. And I'm leading this journey. Here's why I'm leading this journey. Because I built a done for you agency that on paper looked perfect. We had end to end podcast guesting support and top tier results and amazing clients. And I was slowly eroding my joy on the inside. And it wasn't until I found out that I was pregnant with this little lady that I knew the model had to change. I have been an entrepreneur for nearly 20 years, running 4 businesses, having 3 children, and living in 2 different countries. If you are new to this podcast, we don't normally have special tiny guests on, but she woke up early from her nap. The Crown Yourself podcast is the space where we build conscious business strategy, leveraging embodied storytelling, and we support you in your sovereignty in business and leadership so that you lead in your family life and you lead in your business life beautifully and holistically. If you're ready to ditch a model that's draining you and actually lead from your soul, then I'd love for you to stick around because we're going to do this. Me and my baby, we're going to hang out here. In 2021, I had such radical success with podcast guesting that I became like this evangelist for the power of podcast guesting. And my team started to notice that our brand of Crown Yourself was getting diluted with my effervescence, quite frankly, talking about the power of podcast guesting. So in 2022, we split the businesses and started building Communication Queens as a done for you podcast guesting agency. Our clients were getting results. They were getting booked on great podcasts. They were finding clients. The system was working for more than just a coaching business. But the model of a done for you end to end agency, it boxed me out of my own creativity, my own energy, and quite frankly, my zone of genius. I was leading from a place of depletion. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of our clients who was actually canceling his services with us that it came to me that the model that I was operating in was broken. And it was not that it was a broken model. There's many very successful done for you agencies out there. It just wasn't the right model for me. And especially wasn't the right model for me at that season of my life where I had just found out that I was pregnant. So when you recognize, it's very often that I'll see clients come with a similar problem where they've built a business where they're proud of that may be on paper looking really good, or to external metrics, it's looking really good. But ultimately on the inside, it's like duct tape. And a lot of times that comes when the founder is missing from their zone of genius. Your zone of genius is the magical space that is like your divine God given gifts that is where time disappears and energy can expand. And I can say that very successfully, like that happens when I'm creating for me. Where do you feel the most you in your business? We have to first identify your zone of genius. And there's this video here, this past podcast that can help you on really discovering what is your zone of genius. We then need to audit your current model. And this is what you as a founder should be doing on a regular basis. Where in the model of your business are you actually operating in your zone of genius? What parts of your business feel heavy or forced or draining? So, for example, a very easy one that I see with most visionary founders is if they're still somehow in their books doing their own bookkeeping, that's not the place where they play. Like they may be anal retentive like me and like slightly controlling and want to have their hands and fingers in their books. But at the same time, that's not the place where like it's the best space for me to play. It may not be your entire business model that is broken or out of alignment. It could be you're operating in a role that you've actually outgrown it and it needs to be delegated. So, an example like bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is probably not your best source of energy, and that can be a very easy space to delegate that to someone where that is their zone of genius, where they love doing numbers and crunching numbers and doing bookkeeping and all that. Like that, no, no, thank you. Visionary, creative, not happening. That's not my space, not my space I like to play. The other space that I've seen is I had a client who had built $1 million company, scaled it to multiple millions, was going to 2 million the next year. But his genius zone was not in the space that he was playing and spending most of his time. He was spending most of the time in the delivery of the services to his clients and customers. But really, his zone of genius was actually in conversion and in conveying the vision of the company. That's like Steve Jobs level. Like, Steve Jobs wasn't in there making computers and making sure the delivery was perfect. He was marketing them. Mic drop right there, or like organizer baby toy drop right there. Many of us base our tactical doing things that we're doing inside of our business on external advice instead of internal alignment. What are those things that actually only you can be doing in your business? And if only you can be doing them because it's a skill set that you've developed, maybe that skill set is something that you need to train so that you elevate your role. Then we want to look at where are those micro pivots that we can make toward operating more inside of our zone of genius. So, for example, I shifted Communication Queens from being a done for you end to end podcast booking agency to consulting. When we moved into a visibility and brand consulting agency where we train other people's teams in doing that, in how do you get a consistent flow of leads from your podcast, my energy returned almost immediately when that happened. So it could be one piece of your model actually needs to be restructured. I had this with one of our clients. She was going through our Queen Bee Business Builder program. And I said, well, what's your zone of genius when it comes to marketing? She's like, oh, I don't like marketing. I don't do it very well. And I said, well, what do you mean you don't do it very well? Like scheduling emails, posting on social? She's like, yeah, all that. I said, well, what do you like to do? She goes, I love to write and I love to speak. And I said, great, do that. And every other piece, it's like scheduling it into social media, scheduling it into your email system, posting it as a blog, adding it as a LinkedIn newsletter. All of those are pieces that you can delegate to a VA very quickly. It radically changed her business when she started seeing, oh my gosh, I don't have to do the whole system. I can do these few little micro pieces of the system that are my zone of genius. And then other people who they love daily ops, who they love repetitive tasks, they can do those. I see this a lot with neurodivergence, and many visionary founders and entrepreneurs, if you haven't noticed, are a little ADHD, myself included, where we may think differently. We're doing repetitive tasks. We can build a system, but God, no, we don't want to repeat it every day. Like, oh my God, no, thank you. That is where you hire and delegate to more neurotypical people who may thrive in systems and repetitive tasks. That is where you can actually play and support others in being in their zone of genius. Here's how we make sure that we are leading without abandoning yourself by following the soul framework. So, if you think of the word soul, we have SOUL, soul. Self awareness. Know when your business is misaligned with your soul, and your soul's purpose is you being more in that zone of genius. I have seen a direct correlation after 10 years of coaching high performing visionary leaders to the amount of income and revenue your business is making and the amount of time they actually spend in their zone of genius and the amount of time each of their team members spends in their zone of genius. Number two, ownership. Take radical responsibility for shifting what no longer serves. If marketing and scheduling your social media posts is draining you, you still need to be out there in the world showing up and inviting business, but that doesn't necessarily have to be you doing it. Hire a virtual assistant. You can go to a site like upwork.com and find thousands of highly qualified virtual assistants who are well trained and probably better at social media than you are. And then we have the U in soul for union. Reconnect. Reconnect your genius with your delivery model. whatever model that your business is in, how you deliver your message, how you deliver your services, how you deliver your marketing, how you deliver your KPIs within your role. You want to have union between your zone of genius and the delivery, the actions that you're taking on the day to day in your business. Then we have lastly, L of soul. Show others what it looks like to build from your truth. L stands for leadership. We want to build from truth, not templates. Just because someone else said that model is successful or that strategy is successful, you still have to integrate it to have it apply to you. Not everybody's model is fit for everybody. You want to find those strategies, whether it's marketing, delivery, that is what makes you unique. And then lead from that truth, lead from that zone of genius. And that's why I created the Collective container. The Collective is our monthly coaching membership where we attract and have a community of people who are just tired of building businesses for them, for other people. And you build it for you. You build it for your truth that supports your life, that supports you in you thriving in that zone of genius that only you are built to thrive in. This is where visionary leaders take one aligned, courageous action per week. I am not telling you what your courageous action has to be. I am saying we are leading collectively together to create a space where bold action is the new norm. This is a space where your genius gets to be honored and your success is designed around you and for you without self abandonment. So tap the link down below inside the show notes to join the collective. We are open now. This is where your business model can actually match your magic and the things that only you were put here on this planet to do. If you love this episode and you're like, oh my gosh, I love the Crown Yourself podcast. I need to be in this space crowning myself more, then yes, queen, hit the subscribe button. And make sure you're also subscribed on Apple and Spotify for our special audio only Friday episodes. These are not available on YouTube. They are only for our OG audio only podcast listeners. So we have been around since the old days of podcasting, which technically in internet years is ancient, but we're 6 years old now. So make sure you hit and subscribe on Apple and Spotify. And I want to thank every single person in advance for writing a review for this podcast. Your reviews, your comments on the YouTube channel, they help us go so much farther. I am so grateful for you being a part of this community. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for choosing to lead with soul, for choosing to stand out in your sovereign soul leadership so that you lead purposefully. We need more leaders like you who aren't abandoning themselves to external metrics or what success is supposed to look like for anybody else except for you, designed for you, designed how you embody those divine gifts that were gifted to you to bring forth into this world. Lead from that space. I am so honored and excited to serve you. Thank you so much for being here. As always, my fellow sovereigns, own your throne, mind your business because your reign is now. I'll see you next week.